We are super, super happy to see you all today. If it's your first time at Industrial Marketing Live, aka IML, welcome. We're so happy to have you. If you've been here before, we are super happy to have you back. Today and every day in IML, we're trying to create a community and a space for industrial marketers who are looking to grow their careers, people who are looking to grow their companies. Marketing is an ever evolving field and we're just trying to keep up. So we'd like to band together and learn from each other. And that's what this space is for. So a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into our topic today. We love to see faces. We love to hear from you. We'd love to pull folks up on stage, hear from your experiences, answer your questions. So if you would like to turn your camera on, we invite that. I will ask you all to just mute while others are talking and, unmute if you'd like to jump in. But that's about it. I'm Peyton. I'm a strategist here at Gorilla. We've got several Gorilla strategists and our performance marketer, Kevin, here. If everyone wants to just wave real quick. And we'll jump into today's topic. Sweet. Cool. So today's topic is going to be SEO for industrial companies. Is it relevant? Is it something that we should keep doing? What are our thoughts? How do we do it? Things like that. So we've got our strategy director, Grace Wright, joining us today. And we're very excited to have her because she's kind of got this diverse background and come up in SEO that I'd like her to tell you guys a little bit about before we jump in. Grace, do you mind sharing a little bit about you?
I can just kind of hop in here. So my perspective really comes from my first job out of college. I was an SEO copywriter. So my job was basically to take the plan of we need to rank for this keyword. And then it was kind of my fault if we didn't rank for that keyword. So I have written just hundreds of thousands of words meant to rank in search. I've, of course, kind of evolved my career over time to more the strategy side of things and demand generation, but I have deep expertise, at least in, I have this keyword, how do I make it rank? I certainly don't have, there are people much better than I am in technical SEO and just kind of that side of things, but on the content creation side, that's kind of where my expertise lies. But happy to join you all here today and answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Sweet. So the first question, and if you got our email leading up to this today is SEO dead? Is it something we should even do at all? Is it worth the time? And I'd like to hand that back over to Grace. Do you think SEO is dead?
I feel like at least once a year, people just write a flurry of articles that SEO is dead or this is dead, that is dead. Marketers love to proclaim things as dead. I would say SEO is not dead. What is dead is, 10 years ago when, you would have a marketing agency that would report on traffic and, oh my gosh, traffic is up and we've done such a great job and that's it. Or we've gotten a lot of great leads, but they're all white paper leads and none of them close. But that's good because, we've increased leads 200%. That side of SEO is dead, or at least, I think smart marketers aren't framing their strategy that way. But there's certainly ways to win on SEO. It probably isn't, I probably wouldn't put together, if I were to put together a marketing plan for a company, it probably wouldn't be only SEO. But if you're going to create blog posts for demand generation purposes anyway, you might as well, I think you have to do your due diligence to see if there's any keyword volume that matches the intent of the topic you're already going to be writing about. I think it makes sense for anyone in-house to be able to know enough to be dangerous to kind of audit, okay, where are we at? What do we rank for? Have rankings slipped for the stuff that's really important? Or if you're going to create content, just having the ability to do basic keyword research. I don't think anyone needs to be a technical SEO aficionado, but just kind of enough expertise to know your way around and be able to kind of point yourself in the right direction.
Yeah, Mary, Brendan, curious to just get your take on like the level of experience that you need as a marketer in SEO, because I feel like that's just like there's so much, right?
There's a lot, and I think Noel kind of asked this question in IML last week, right? Like starting to kind of feel bad that he doesn't know a lot about SEO, and I told him, I was like, hey, there's just so much to know about marketing. Even industrial companies, right? There's a lot of ways that you can go. And I don't think we're sitting here saying like you need to be a T-shaped marketer, right? Where like you're an expert in like email marketing or even like paid campaigns. Like I think most of us in industrial are kind of generalists, right? So that means we can have a general idea of everything. I'll say like my experience with SEO is very limited. It wasn't a big consideration for me when we did create content when I was in house. I think my mind has changed now that I've been, on the agency side and seen the impacts it can make. But it's still like I think Grace said, like it's not the only thing I think you should be doing.
Yeah, I would echo Brendan's. When I was in-house, we did not have an SEO strategy. Any content we created was just industry driven or product driven. So it was answering customers' questions. It was talking about our products, but we didn't have like a keyword or SEO strategy. And I would also echo what Brendan said and say, I still think it's an important part of your content marketing plan and how you should execute your strategy. But my hot take of the day is going to be, if you can't measure it, don't do it, because you're never going to be able to communicate the business value of doing SEO and putting in the research required to do it.
Yeah. And like, just like a lot of us have very limited resources, right? Like how many of us on this call are 1 to 3 person marketing teams? And you're getting pulled in so many different directions, right? Like you're dealing with trade shows, you're dealing with, we just talked about demand generation on the last call. Like that is a huge lift, right? You're probably editing videos yourselves or editing a podcast yourself, or, like running events, running webinars, doing your own writing. You got a lot of shit to do, right? And so I think we have to be strategic here and understand, like, here's the resources I have, right? Like, what is my 80%, 20% time? So align yourself with, here's the resources I have. Am I a good writer or not? Do I need to bring in writing? Do I have the budget to bring in writing? Do I have the tools to do keyword research? Do I have the budget to buy a tool? You have to like understand all that before you start going down the path. And I think, John, you just said it, right? A lot of people just jump right in without doing any sort of research. Well, you have to research your keywords, but then like, do you even have the capacity right now to do SEO and do it right?
I'll hop in here really quickly too. SEO isn't dead, but if you've ever heard the advice that, oh, you only have to write, like you're writing this for SEO and, it has to be 300 words and that's good enough. And just make sure that it mentions the keyword 10 times. Like it's horrible SEO writing advice. So if you're getting that type of advice, or that's kind of your strategy, you're never going to win. Like I think, how you win on SEO is like, first of all, really writing the content that your audience needs, like focusing on one segment, focusing and doing deep customer research, understanding what problems customers are having, what your most profitable products are, getting that list of keywords that matches that. And then, writing the content that serves your overarching marketing plan, not necessarily just content for SEO. And then if you're going to create a content piece at all, make it the very best content piece you can make it, because people can smell BS from a mile away. And you're doing a disservice, I think, to create that type of content.
Awesome. So increasing traffic for traffic's sake, dead. We don't want to do that, right? What are the sorts of things that you're looking at when you are trying to increase traffic? Like specific pages? Like what is it about increasing traffic that's worth your time?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's not always a bad thing if traffic goes down either. Like I think sometimes people look at traffic as this like homogenous monolithic thing, and oh my gosh, it's down and it's this page that's causing it, so we have to update that page. And when you're working on any type of SEO work, like some of the stuff you do is going to work and some of the stuff you do isn't. And you might end up ranking for something and all of the leads that come through that page or that series of content are students researching or just not high quality leads. So I think I would never look at like traffic levels as like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a great job, or oh my gosh, we need to panic. Even if it's dropping significantly, I mean, we've evaluated for some of our clients, like there's a major traffic drop, but then we dive into it and we go, oh, it's from this piece. And, over the last 2 years, this content piece has only generated white paper downloads. Let's let that content piece die essentially, and focus our efforts on, either testing new things or reworking stuff that historically has worked. So I think that especially if you focus only on traffic, and to Mary's point, can't measure anything else, you're kind of setting yourself up on this traffic increase hamster wheel where every traffic drop is bad.
So there's a diminishing point of return with SEO, and we need to focus on the pages, the content that's going to drive the most impact. So maybe we just jump in right now into like, how do we make this work? So if you are going to do SEO, if you can measure it, how should you get started in that journey?
Yeah. If I had an afternoon free and I were in charge of marketing in-house, and I were interested in getting started in some small way in SEO, I mean, this is kind of how I would start. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have console set up on your site, you should. If you don't know how to do it, you should be able to Google, how to set up console on my site. There's a really great plugin that's super easy. It's called Google Site Kit for WordPress. I think we might even have a tutorial video in-house that maybe we can send. But it's super easy. If you don't have it set up, it should take about 5 minutes to get it set up. But basically what Search Console gives you is real first-party data from Google. It's not always, you kind of have to treat data from Google with a grain of salt. It's not always like 1000% accurate, but it gives you good directional information as to kind of what you're currently ranking for. So you can kind of come in here, take a quick look at like, okay, what am I ranking in the top 5 positions for, and kind of like audit that. I don't find that information on its own super helpful because I don't know, like one keyword might be bringing in a lot of really great leads, another keyword might be bringing in a lot of fluff. So typically what I like to start out with, and this is what Mary was alluding to, if you can't measure this, you're only going to be able to report on rankings and traffic, and doing that kind of sets yourself up to not be able to make good judgment calls about like, okay, I dropped on this keyword, or this page isn't getting as much traffic, but I don't care about that because of XYZ reasons. You're not able to really justify those types of strategic choices. So what I'll do, if you have HubSpot, this is super easy, is I'll create a report of every lead that came in through organic over a certain time period by first page seen, so that I can start to evaluate deal amounts, number of opportunities created from that page. So if it's original source organic, they came from organic search, the first page they saw is the page they landed on. So it kind of gives you a good indication of kind of leads by organic landing page. So what you would do is go in and create report. If you have deal data in here, I would go ahead and hit this custom report builder. And you'll want it to be contacts and deals so that you can look at amounts. And then you'll come in here. You will want it to be an unsummarized data table. So those are kind of all of the, I actually have already built this report, so I'm going to go into that. But I just wanted to show you all of the breadcrumb steps of how I got here. And then for columns, what I'll typically do is first name, last name, first page seen is really important because, again, it's if the original source is organic, they came from search, the first page they saw is the first page that they landed on from Google or whatever search engine they're using. Life cycle stage, and I'll tell you why that's important in a little bit. Create date, amount, deal stage, and then original source type. Then for filters, I just keep it simple, create date of a certain time period. In this particular case, I'm going back about 2.5 years. And then original source type is any of organic search. So once I have this table, I'll hit export into an Excel sheet. I've already done that. So then you get something that looks like this. You're just going to go ahead and hit select all of it and hit pivot table. And then you're going to want to be able to filter by life cycle stage. You're going to have the first page seen be the row. Let's see. And then you're going to want the amount, which I believe I saw somewhere here.
Just beneath.
I have it set up here in case I ran into something like that. It's hard to build something with like 50 people on the line.
I know, I was going to say, Grace, you're really brave here. It's hard enough just to.
I'm trying to do it live, but I have fail safes for myself. But the recording should still be helpful. So we've got you're filtered by life cycle stage. You've got first page seen as the row, sum of contacts, and then you can put amount here as well. Sometimes it will default to count of amount. If you double click it, you can just hit sum, and then it will just give you the sum of the amount, and then you can just format it to currency so it makes a little bit more sense for you. So this gives me every organic lead that I got over the last 2 years by first page seen. From there, I can start to look at like, okay, so this is probably branded search of some kind. No one lands on Gorilla 76 any other way. It's a bizarre name. Same thing here, you know, not all of this is like, wow, we ranked for something. You'll see Joe Sullivan's profile is one of the like landing pages. So some of these are from organic search and some of these indicate more like branded search of some kind. The reason I like to have life cycle stage as a filter is that this is like all leads. So not all leads are created equal, as we all know. So what I can come in here and do is select only customer opportunities, sales qualified lead, whatever you want. And then these are the pages that have driven the most value organically over the last 2 years. So when we do this for clients, it becomes really clear that there's typically a set of about 20 or 30 blog posts or pages that are doing a lot of work. From there, you can start to like make good decisions. So for instance, let's say traffic is way down on this one blog post you wrote 3 years ago. You were trying to rank for like, what is marketing, or whatever your topic is, like, what are custom labels or something like really high level and generic like that. And you were getting a lot of traffic, but traffic is dropping. You can kind of come in here like, okay, do I care about that traffic drop? And if you haven't over the last 3 years generated one customer from that blog post, you can make a pretty compelling business case that that's not where you should prioritize your content creation time over the coming months as part of your marketing plan. And just allows you to kind of make a business case for justifying some of the decisions you're making from a content creation perspective. But let's say there's a post that's really important to you. You can come back into console and look at it by page. And then I can just put in the URL. And then I can see what I'm ranking for that piece. So you can see like, okay, I got lots of leads, I got lots of opportunities, but what are the actual keywords that I'm ranking for there? And then you can start to kind of like evaluate like, okay, has my position dropped over the last couple of months? Like, is this in jeopardy? This is obviously a very important term to me. And, you know, like, let's say that I was on, like, I ranked 15th for something that was really important to me that had generated a lot of customers. Well, that's an indication that I should probably prioritize updating that piece. And in fact, that's something that we did recently was this piece obviously is very important to us, and these terms are very important to us. And we had slipped in rankings for these terms. And I actually just have it pulled up. But Joe went through and took a day, like after he surfaced that opportunity, he was able to come in here and go, this is a really great use of my time. I'm going to come in here, spend a day, update this piece, beef it up, multimedia content. And then we were ranking on the first page again. But it just allows you to like really identify where the opportunities are in like existing content. So for instance, like if I would have come in here for this piece that's generated customers, pipeline, you name it, over the last 2 years, and I saw that the top term I was ranking for was like 15th, like that's alarm bells to me that we should update that and try and get back on the first page again, because that'll actually drive results for us.
Yes, very worth your time. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so from there, you should be able to, like, if I had that rest of the afternoon free and I had just taken over marketing for Gorilla, and this was like SEO I knew had worked really well for us in the past. One thing I'd probably do is just go through each of these pieces individually and look at, like, what am I ranking for? Am I ranking on the first page? Let me look at the other things that are like the other pieces that are ranking for those terms. Is this a priority piece to rework, and why? So that would probably be where I start with SEO. I think that it can be really exciting to pursue new keywords, but the best place to start is, this has worked for us historically. We've dropped. Let me get back on the first page. That's where I'd start. And then once you have that list of keywords and pieces to rework, while you're still in the planning mode, one thing you can do is brainstorm your most profitable products and services. It's like, what do you sell? Do you sell containerized generators? Do you sell portable generators? Do you sell shrink sleeves? Do you sell industrial ovens? Just kind of like list out your most profitable products and services, and then kind of highlight the ones that you don't currently have content for, or if you do have content for it, go into Search Console and see if that page ranks for any of the relevant terms, and just kind of take notes as you go. Then I would also list out, we always advocate for deep investigative customer research, so like call reports, that type of thing, and just kind of like list out what the questions your best customers are asking when they're considering whatever it is that you sell. You know, one of our clients, for instance, like digital versus flexo label printing is something that they field a lot, like, which is better? There's search volume around that too. So just kind of like, without worrying about keywords, just list out those products and list out those questions. And then from there, you can use Keyword Planner is a free tool that if you have Google Ads set up, you can just use it, and you can start to like come in here and go, okay, manufacturing marketing, or like just toss your ideas. Like, let's say you sell containerized generators, for instance. It could be containerized generators, containerized diesel generators, etc. And then you can just hit get results. And then suddenly you have 2 keywords you might want to rank for. So what I'd probably do is just create a spreadsheet of like all of those ideas that you've just uncovered, both from what historically has worked and then where the gap is in terms of what you sell and questions you field that you don't currently rank for. And then you can kind of just start, like, I look at stuff like this as like non-judgmental brainstorming. So it's like, just type in how you think people search about it. Likely there's some volume there, and you can just start to copy in things like containerized generator, average monthly search of 20, or, you know, you can come in here and go You can also look at, I like to make notes of like what the autofill is, or people also ask.
And then dive deeper into those keywords.
Yeah. So for any keyword, once you kind of go through that activity that I just like, all of that should take you probably a few hours, maybe even a full day, depending on, especially like factoring in, just kind of coming up with keyword ideas can take a long time. Then you have that list, and then maybe you just choose 3 that you want to work on over the next month. Like, I want to rework this piece, and I want to, like, I don't currently have pages for this product, and I don't have any content that addresses this question. And you just choose those 3 as priorities. I think sometimes people can get caught up in wanting to choose the like perfect keyword. As long as it's based on what has historically worked, what's profitable, or questions that people are really asking, I don't think you can go wrong. And then it just becomes a question of like, okay, how do I rank for that?
I just want to clarify one thing. That initial report that you pulled before you even downloaded it from HubSpot, the CRM, it's to get that data, the data has to be in the CRM, right? Yeah. So your sales team has to be putting deal data into something that you can access, right? Or you've got to have access to the deal information somewhere and be able to tie it back to a contact. So you can see, hey, this contact who filled out a form on the website, they saw this page. Okay.
You would have to have, and you don't even necessarily need HubSpot as a CRM or Salesforce integration necessarily. I think you can get pretty good information even without the amount, as long as you're able to filter by lead type. So, customer opportunity sales qualified lead, this still narrows down the field for me, as opposed to like, otherwise it's a black box of lead gen and traffic, and it just doesn't give me any sense of, like, if I'm just looking at this, first of all, it's going to take me a week to develop the list of keywords that all of these rank for and tell the story about whether or not we've gone down or not or whatever. And second of all, there's just no sense of priority here. Like, no one has enough time to update all of these pieces, and not all of them matter in the grand scheme of things. So as long as you're able to get a sense of priority, another thing you could do when you're building out that report is you could filter by where they converted on, so that, like, if you have no other, you don't have a CRM, you don't keep track of like leads as they progress from like sales qualified leads to opportunities to customers, one thing you can do to back into lead quality is where did they convert? So like, you could filter for only people who filled out the contact us or request a quote form, as opposed to all of the white paper form and spec cap or kind of lower intent forms you have on your site. That's the way you could kind of get at the same information.
So we've got a lot of questions in the chat, and some of them are, y'all, it's hard to keep up with y'all sometimes. So a lot of folks are asking just about like, choosing keywords too. So like, I feel like we're talking a little bit like, this is if you've got data, you want to see what content, like previous content you've created that you can bolster, right? But what if you're creating something new and you want it to rank? Like, how do you go about that process of, choosing a keyword and then building it into a new piece of content?
Yeah.
Specifically for landing pages has come up quite a bit.
For landing pages, I think with landing pages in particular, especially if it's like for paid search or paid social, I typically, my thinking there would be to focus on the primary purpose of the page. If the primary purpose of the page is to convert someone from paid search, I would worry a lot less about SEO. And you can in fact like de-index that page so that it's not like factored in if it is duplicate content or anything like that. And you can add a canonical tag to whatever content it did come from. For landing pages, the most important thing is to convert someone. I almost look at that as entirely different from SEO. Like I might not even mix those two potions, so to speak. Does that address, whoever asked that, do you have a follow-up?
So I think part of the question is, you know, when you're thinking about maybe it's a landing page for something that you are trying to rank for organically instead of like if you don't have a budget for paid. And so you're just trying to rank for something that a product, you know, and you want to be the first thing that shows up. Are there?
I guess in a way, every single page that ranks for something is a landing page of sorts. Like you've got this, the way I'm interpreting that is maybe more a product page as opposed to like a pure blog post or something like that. And I don't know, every single piece of organic content is kind of a landing page, whether it's a product page or a blog post. You know, you've got this person, what you know about them is the intent based on that search, and just kind of trying to address that intent while also persuading them of something, whether it's, I do that and you know, my company does that and my company does it well, you can reach out to us here, or hey, when you're considering digital versus Flexo, you're actually asking the wrong question. Both technologies are great under certain circumstances. Here's, you know, when something might be better for your brand. And oh, by the way, we do both. So all of them are landing pages in a certain extent. For a product page in particular, I mean, the stuff that I've written that has ranked well, I've spent a lot more time obsessing over comprehensively answering the intent of the search than I spent obsessing over word count or like I've had product pages that have performed really well that have been 1,000 words, or ones that I feel like I was able to address in 300. But I worry a lot less about that than I do about like I would never add fluff for SEO. For instance, like just address the intent of the search, and I think you're on your merry way.
Yeah, so I think so to that point, like if we're talking about like landing pages for, you know, definitely for product marketing, right? Like when I was at Graco, it was like diaphragm pumps, peristaltic pumps, right? So I'm trying to probably make my product overview page the landing page for that specific keyword, right? So air diaphragm pumps, like I want my product overview page to be that landing page for that. But that's probably going to look different than the landing page that I build out for paid search, right? That with the same keyword. So like there's going to be some differences there. I think you can use your product overview page though, if it's written well and laid out well as a landing page for both organic and paid. I think the question I always had was, if I'm in that situation where I have a product overview page, that would be a good landing page for a high intent keyword. Should I also try and create the guide for X product as another landing place?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like product specific content, I mean, this is actually a piece Gorilla wrote that we rank first for that is a product page. You know, the tack we took with this is just kind of like, you'll notice that this isn't like your typical 100 word, we sell containerized generators product page, but it's also not 5,000 words of fluff. You know what I mean? Like SEO content can still be concise, and I think it still should be. You know, it answers like kind of the intent of the search. Someone looking for this is looking for a containerized generator. They want to know, do you sell it? They want to know, do you sell it in the configuration and kilowattage that I need? Like it quickly gives them what they need and why they should buy from us. So that's like, if I were to like rank for containerized generators, like this is how I would approach that.
Hey, Grace, I have a question that came in the chat and I think it's a really good one. How do you think about keyword when you're looking at keyword research and the data for your high intent keywords that you want to rank for is so low that it might not seem worthwhile? How do you think about that in terms of SEO?
If it is a profitable enough product or a like a hot ticket enough question, I've found, for instance, like I wrote a piece a while ago on double-sided labels, and the search volume it was giving me for the keyword we were going after was 10, but we probably get a few hundred people on that a month. So like by writing the best piece on a particular topic, you're going to pick up all of the like ancillary search terms that just aren't accounted for in like what, like that's what I was kind of getting after when I was like, you can trust Google's data, but only so much. Like I can almost guarantee you we get more than 20 people on this page a month. And it's just because like Google, I kind of look at this as almost being underreported. I don't know. If the keyword makes sense to you, I would worry a lot less about average monthly searches. And in fact, like I've seen people chase keywords because they have like 30,000 monthly searches. Like that does not inherently make something better. Like getting more people to your site, like if they're the wrong people or you can't really control for intent. Like I found the pieces that I see routinely show up in this report are not generic pieces. They're very specific long tail keyword pieces.
Grace, we had a question in the chat from Mark. So Mark, would you like to come on live and ask Grace a question? It's specifically about Google Search Console.
Yeah, so this is something I've never was aware of before. We have a featured article. It's basically our definitive guide to preparing your manufacturing business for sale. And it's at the top of our blog. And I just did a search on Search Console, and basically I got only one keyword is showing a click and everything else is 0. Lots of impressions, but over the last 3 months, 8.7 thousand impressions and 44 clicks. So I guess that article is not doing so well.
What keyword are you ranking for and what position?
Industry for sale is the top of the list.
What position are you, if you know?
I don't know how to do that.
Sometimes, and if you'd like to share your screen, if I was going to say, Grace, if you can, because you have to click lessons learned the hard way. I remember chasing this around. You have to click that position at the top. You scroll up just a little bit, and then where it says average position, click that so it turns orange. The one right next to it that says 45. Yep. And now if you scroll down, you should be able to see the position header.
Yeah, so you could toggle to see, like if you click on position, it'll reorder it based on like low to high, and then you can click it again and it'll reorder it high to low. Yeah. So looks like where you're ranking well doesn't have a lot of search volume around it. And it looks like where you're getting most of the impressions, you're probably on like the 4th or 5th page. So that's not necessarily prime real estate for someone to click. I can't tell you, like I said, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Technical SEO, there are people way better than me, but there's some statistic where it's like the first 2 or 3 slots get like 50% of the clicks or something. Don't quote me on that. But the moral of the story is that like that's where most of the clicks come from. If you're getting a lot of impressions, sometimes it's because you're like on the 2nd or 3rd page, or something that can affect click-through rate is what you have as your title tag or meta description. Your title tag and meta description aren't as important from a like ranking perspective, but it is from a like convincing someone who is on the search engine results page that you match the intent that they're searching for. Thank you for whoever put the real statistic in the chat.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike just said that the top 3 are usually 6% of all clicks.
Yeah. Another thing to consider, we had a client who organic traffic dropped for one of their like key pages, but our ranking did not drop. So another thing you have to factor into this is like the prevalence of no-click searches. So Google has been optimizing their own interface, their own search engine results page to answer the question right there on the page. So with those people also ask box, the featured snippets, and so like with that, Google's taking more of the clicks. Like there are fewer to go around too. I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of my, I guess, analysis of what I was seeing there without seeing what the page is or the search engine results page looks like for that.
And to Grace's point, we always need to remember that Google is a business, one of the most profitable businesses in the world. And how they make money is through ads. So remember, when you're choosing whether or not you want to do SEO as a strategy, first of all, Google those high intent keywords and see how many people are bidding on them. Because if it's like 5, you're kind of screwed. And if it's even 1 or 2, they're always going to outrank you because they're paying for it. And that data, the paid for data, is only going to show up in very specific keyword research. So if you're doing keyword research on SEMrush or something, that's only showing organic. You have to do a specific PPC research before you do organic if you want to see who's ranking for paid keywords.
Yeah, that's another reason that I think those longer tail keywords just perform better organically, because when you're trying to rank for custom labels, I mean, try and Google that right now. You're going to have like half of it, the real estate is paid. But if I'm trying to rank for custom double-sided label printing, well, suddenly we're talking. I can like ranking actually means something in that search. Fewer people are bidding on it.
So we've covered a lot of ground. There's so much more that could be said about SEO. I'm just looking at the time. And if anyone has specific questions, please put them in the chat. I think we can probably get to a few more. But I do want to go ahead and say, like, if you are taking one action away from the call today, what do you suggest marketers do next? And I'd like to ask that question of Grace, Mary, and Brendan. Grace, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just identifying the keywords that mean anything to you. I would just do that audit of what has been performing historically, and make the list of keywords that like represent core questions or products or services that you don't currently rank for. And just then you have your priority hit list of stuff that you could work on and prioritize over the next couple of years in terms of like organic content creation. Oh, in my notes, I had said something entirely different, didn't I, Peyton? the thing that I decided last week that I should recommend here is that if you are creating content at all, like if you're creating a blog post because it fits in with your demand gen efforts, just do the keyword research to make sure that there's not any type of search term that you could overlay onto writing that piece. If there isn't a search term and it still is really relevant to what your customers care about, still write it, but always just do that first step to make sure that there isn't any search potential to be captured.
Mary?
All right, well, you guys know I'm always going to take a hard stance on something. So mine is going to be, if you don't have a CRM, don't bother to do SEO, because what you want to do as an industrial marketer is boost your resume or boost your position in the company. And if you can't speak in business statistics and you can't speak in business results, marketing's never going to get the place that you want it to at your company.
Hot take. Brendan?
Can't have the same hot take for every IML, Mary.
Give marketing a seat at the table.
So for me, I think I'm going to also change my answer. I think finding those quick wins with SEO. I don't think us industrial marketers need to spend a ton of time on SEO. but I think, we already have articles that are on our websites that are written. So maybe like, is there ways to modify those pages or update those pages, like what Grace showed with how we updated that page for Gorilla? So find those quick wins for yourself, and then, identify the 1 or 2 like pages or keywords that you need to rank for, and just rank for those. And don't worry about trying to rank for every single thing inside of your industry.
Love that.
Awesome.
We did have another question in the chat.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. What are our favorite keyword tools? Maybe both from a free keyword tool and paid keyword tools.
Yeah. Glad you asked. Console is, I was trying to like keep the discussion earlier to free tools that anyone could have access to. So that would be Console, using autofill from Google. I think, Google itself is one of your best, search. It's not the most exciting, but like looking at the people also ask, making sure you're covering off on those subtopics when you're writing, looking at what's currently ranking, what topics are they talking about, what words are they talking about, are there too many ads on the search engine results page? Like, do you even want to rank for this? Like, would it mean anything if you have to scroll all the way down here for the first organic result? Maybe that's not the piece you write first. You can also come down here and look at related searches. So this is a really robust tool, I think. We love SEMrush here. I actually, before, when I was prepping what to have pulled up here, one thing I pulled up was, I find this really helpful, or I did when I was a writer. I still find it helpful. But basically, like if I put in here that I want to rank for, so let me show you the breadcrumbs. You come down to SEO content template, and then I come in here and go manufacturing, marketing, and then I can hit create that template. What it's going to do is it's just going to kind of give me a report of like semantically related terms that all of the pieces that are currently ranking say. So like, for instance, if I'm writing that digital versus flexo piece, should probably talk about print runs, print technology, plates, that type of thing. Semantically related terms for manufacturing marketing. So we've got trade shows, lead generation, purchasing decisions. Like all of this makes a lot of sense to us. We're all marketers in this space. But what I like about this tool from a writing perspective is I don't necessarily know what those terms are for industrial ovens right at the beginning of my research process. So this allows me to kind of look at like, wow, if I don't know this term, I should probably Google that and research that as part of my research process. Yeah, and then you can just kind of, from there, I mean, the rest of it, I kind of take with a grain of salt. My personal directive whenever I'm writing something that's for search is, it's not simple, but it's write the best piece about this that exists on the internet. That doesn't always mean like the longest piece, because in fact, like I think sometimes shorter is more helpful, right? But like fully address the intent of the search. But these are the things that I would look at, like once I already have that keyword, how am I deciding what to focus on in the content? That these are just things that I find helpful. Anyone else on the team have one that they wanted to go over?
No,
I
just
think
want to,
that, the issue I think with SEMrush sometimes for us is it's pretty expensive, for
Yes.
for a team to use it. I think it's like, I looked at it, it was like $120 a month. So it's pretty expensive. I think you can get into something like Neil Patel's like Uber Suggest for a lot less expense, and you get similar results out of that. But I would definitely think like, do I want to spend $120 a month for this tool that I don't think I'm going to use very often? And it might just be a thing where maybe you just do it for a month to get the things you need and then turn the subscription off. I think we have to bootstrap a lot. So just don't waste your money to have a subscription all year round for something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of piggyback off of that. Like, I think most of the pieces that I've written that have done well, I could have done without SEMrush. Like, you can get where you need to go. Like, the most important thing is like thoroughly research the topic. Like, what are other, like, what does Google think deserves to rank here? And kind of like mimic that format. But then also just kind of do more thorough research than anyone else has done and interview a subject matter expert. write a really concise, pointed, scannable piece that has an infographic, and just basically like write the best piece on the internet. And you don't need a fancy tool to do that. You just need time, and you need the space to give yourself the time to just do the research and the work required. That's what's going to get you where you need to go.
Awesome. Well, there's always more we could dive into here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and just say thank you for joining us on another IML. If you like this conversation, you want to have more conversations like it, you want to keep it going today, you can join us in the IML Slack community. Just send me a message, send me an email to any of the gorillas on this call, and we'll get you added to the Slack channel. You can also just put a little note in the chat, and I'll follow up right after this and get you added. We are also super excited to have our topics set up for the rest of the year. And next IML is August 25th. We are going to be talking about CRMs, which, hey, that came up today. I guess they're important, right? And we're also going to be talking about that handoff between marketing and sales. When you have a lead, how do you make sure that sales gives it the time of day and then gives you feedback on how it went? So we're going to have Mike Murphy joining us from Hike 2, and we're really excited to have him. So hope you all will join us on August 25th. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.